How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to another episode of Boys in the Zone. We got my good friend here, Mike Tag, in the building, here to talk a little bit about the Seahawks game last week on Thursday, a little bit about the Eagles' upcoming game, and then overall just playoff picture, I guess. So, man, let's start it off with you shouting your socials out and stuff like that, letting people know where they can find you.
No, EJ, definitely happy to be on here. You're killing it in the Cowboys Cave Fantasy Football League, so we'll give you some props there. But you can find me on Twitter at mtag1993. Also, cowboyscave.com will kind of give you everything, and on YouTube, Cowboys Cave, dropping a lot of Cowboys stuff, content, hype, all that good stuff, man. And you got to get hype for this game. You're talking Cowboys, Eagles, Sunday Night Football at AT&T. It don't get no better.
Oh yeah, no. It really doesn't. I mean, this is the rivalry that has been the showcase rivalry for the NFC East over the 2000s era. So, really fun game, but we gotta rewind a little bit and talk about that Seattle game on Thursday night, man. I thought it was a game that the team showed a lot of resiliency. They fought back multiple times to recapture the lead and get right back in there with the Seahawks and play a really tough game. The defense didn't have a super impressive game overall, but they made some really key stops down the stretch, and it was just fun, man. So walk me through what you saw that night and your favorite moments of the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was at the game, so it's always, I always tell people, man, and you've been to the game, so when you go, it's so much harder to really take everything in and understand what's going on. But I tell you, I went into the game wanting, and you never want that there, but I wanted a dogfight. I needed it. We've killed a lot of teams. We've beaten a lot of teams double digits. Most of our games that we won, pretty much all of them were double digits. So I wanted a game where we're going to be tested. Now, I don't want to be tested like that. Get me nervous. But the way the team fought, the defense, to your point, did not play, their best early on in the first half, into the third quarter. But when they needed it, they showed up. And Bland didn't have his best game, but when we needed him, he showed up. And that's kind of, like the Eagles get to use that resiliency. I'm glad you said that. But for us, we can never use that word for whatever reason. But I think that's what it showed. And these are the kind of games that you need. I mean, you need to have some dogfights where they can go back, and if they're down or they're in trouble, they say, hey guys, don't forget Seattle. We battled back. I mean, Dak's been on playing on another level. So it was a fun game to go to. Don't want to do it all the time. I'd rather have some blowouts, but it was a game that I think the Cowboys needed. I think they needed it for their psyche too.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's one of those games that is a what do you call that? Just a game that you build off of for the playoffs. Because when it comes playoff time, you're not beating teams by double digits. It's usually a one-score game, and these are the games that really give you that, just that feeling of we can do this. We can lean on each other, and we can get points when we need to. We can lean on 4. We can lean on big 9-0 to get critical stops on fourth down. We can lean on Bland to have that mental toughness to come back and get an interception. Even though it didn't amount to any points, he still showed that. And that's the one thing I really love about this team. And just watching some of that sounds of the sideline stuff. I don't know if you ever watched those.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never met anybody that doesn't like them, kind of a thing. But just seeing the amount of veteran leaders we have. You talk about Brandon Cooks, Gilmore in there. You're seeing some of these younger guys even step up and be more leaders. Jake Ferguson, man, you talk about a dog. Man, that went a long way. It took Jake Ferguson to one of those players where I felt really good about, but him being catapulted into one of okay, he's one of my favorite players, kind of a thing, So he showed so much that game, and just overall, I think the offense and just the leadership with Dak. I don't know if you saw that little clip that's been surfacing on Twitter as well, with him just talking to the offensive line and stuff like that, saying, "Listen, I'm going to ask you to go as hard as you can, but you gotta communicate back to me and tell me, hey, we got to slow it down and stuff like that."
Yeah,
I just think that the communication's there for our team. I think that the leadership and it feels different this year. You know what I mean? And sometimes we say that in certain stints, but I've never felt this many stints in a season where it's all getting strung together and we feel good going into playoff time. Like last year, I'll be honest, I didn't feel very good going into the playoffs because we
Mhm.
still had those questions like, okay, Dak's been throwing all these interceptions. Dak is playing MVP status right now. This
Absolutely.
offensive line has kept Dak clean. I mean, yes, the Seahawks game was a little bit worse than we've the past 3 weeks, but relatively protected. And when he hasn't been, Dak's just made an amazing play to get out of sacks, extend. The wide receivers are working with Dak um, along the sidelines, and I just think that it's really impressive right now from the offense. And now it's time to get the beginning of the season defense married with this middle of the season offense, and then you've really built something.
Yeah, yeah. And the Eagles fan wanted to use it after the 49ers game, so I'm going to use it too. We've played what 3 games in 12 days.
Yeah.
So I'll give a little pass. I think it was an aberration. I don't think that's going to be the norm for the defense. But when they had to step up, they did. The one thing to your point about Dak, the one thing I love, to me, he seems better when he's flipping out of the pocket, when he's moving around. I don't want him sitting back there stationary.
Mm,
I want him moving. I don't think, maybe Mahomes. Let me slow down and say Mahomes, but I don't know another quarterback that throws better on the run and moving outside the pocket than Dak Prescott. I mean, extending the plays and like you said, CeeDee Lamb is just he's on another level right now. Brandon Cooks is involved. Everything is going well for the offense. And like Tyron Smith, I mean, let's knock on wood. Even him, and a lot of people give him a lot of grief, and we joke about it. It's not if, it's when, it's how many games he's going to play. But I mean, he's been healthy. They've give McCarthy and give the staff credit with load management and stuff like that in practices. If that's
yeah.
helping, that's great. But I don't think he's given up a sack. I mean, maybe there was one this game, but it might have been more of a coverage sack or something like that. But I mean, he's bringing it, and you're seeing this offense gel, and they're getting better and better every week. So I'm just pumped for this. I'm excited for this game, and I was happy for Seattle, and definitely looking forward to the next few weeks because we got a tough stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta shout out my guys in the chat, Fred Jones and Looking Crazy.
Oh yeah,
Says what's up, homies, and then EJ and Tag with some emojis there from Looking Crazy. So what's up, guys? I'm glad to have you in here in the chat. One thing I'll just say about Dak's play, I mean, he had a handful of drops even in the Seattle game that he could have had even a bigger night.
oh
And
yeah.
it's crazy to think. I mean, you talk about Tony Pollard dropped a touchdown pass straight to his face mask. CeeDee Lamb on that ball that Dak threaded. I mean, that was a perfect pinpoint pass to CeeDee Lamb. I don't think that CeeDee really expected it to get through all that stuff.
Well, and I'll tell you on that play, I was my buddy and I we were screaming, "Why are you throwing that?" Because it looked like he
Hmm.
forced it into double coverage. But then when you watch the replay, you had the beauty of television. I mean, that was about as good of a pass as you could throw.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's really like, kind of. I don't know if you play basketball. I've played basketball my whole life, but
Terrible.
when you feel like you're in that hot zone, you can't
Mhm.
miss. I feel like
Yeah.
Dak's in that zone, where he just feels like I can throw it wherever, and I'm gonna be deadly accurate, and my guys are gonna catch it. I, it's just fun to see Dak at this level 1 year after the media completely berated him with, oh, he's not good anymore, he's an interception machine, all these just complete fallacies, lies, fabrications just about him because he's never been the turnover guy.
No.
That was an aberration last year, and it was one. I think that it was a mixture of Dak trying to be like, we've already seen this show once with Kellen Moore and what the offense was. Doing it his way, I'm just going to come in here, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm just going to be the gunslinger mentality and go out there and see if it's any different.
Yeah.
And it cost him some games. And obviously, you have the tip balls like the Jacksonville game. We shouldn't have lost that game. And there's some other ones in there where he threw interceptions, but it wasn't really his fault, kind of a deal. But you saw he was very aggressive last year. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody would question that or argue that point. This year, you're seeing the aggressiveness, but I think that he actually believes that he can throw those balls in there versus let me just do it because we need to play. I
Yeah.
think that his guys are on the same page this time. CeeDee Lamb is so much better from last year, and he was good last year. You know what I mean? Brandon Cooks, he Brandon Cooks, he really, really understands route concepts and how to beat a DB at the top of the route. That's one
Yep.
thing that's awesome. And then I think that Voch Lombardi brought this up on his show. I think it was yesterday, where he was talking about how Dak is getting into that um, realm of quarterback play where he has his tight end. You know, you think of all the greats, the Peyton Mannings, um, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, all of those guys had a really good tight end with him. And I think he's kind of molded Jake Ferguson into being that guy that he trusts Dak, where he'll catch it and not have to be worried about, oh man, I'm about to get lit up.
Yeah.
He's catching it and turning it and getting upfield, and I don't think that Dalton Schultz could do that. And so it's really, really fun to see that.
Yeah, and you're seeing with Ferguson. I mean, he's brings a nastiness, and I tell you. So we're walking to the stadium. I'm like before the game, like, man, I need to get me a Bland. If there's a Bland jersey, I'm gonna buy it. I'm just gonna go
Mm-hmm.
buy it. And then in the middle of the game, I'm like, yeah, I might wait on the Bland jersey. And then by the end of the game, I'm like, you know what? I want a Ferguson jersey. I mean,
Yeah.
he brings an attitude, and he brings that nastiness, and that's kind of what maybe this offense was lacking a little bit, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing it rub off. You're seeing Dak is getting a little bit, he's bowing up too, and you're getting some of these other guys,
Mm-hmm.
going. They feed off it. It's an emotional game. It's like Tuck's been talking a lot about the music and the entrances and this and that, hyping these players up. But football's a game of emotions, and when you see that, it charges everybody up.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And to that point, you talk about like the Niners in specific is
Hmm.
they come with that swagger, right? A lot of their players, Debo especially, he's like all swagger. He's coming in there. He's like he talked all the trash all week, saying if we would have had Brock, we would have beat you guys. We would have whooped you guys. And he comes in there and he has the game that he had against the Eagles. I mean, that's the kind of swagger and just mental fortitude that I want on my team to
Yeah.
come in when it's not working in the first quarter, because nothing was really going right for the Niners in the first quarter, but they stuck with it and they knew, hey, we are the better team. We're going to show it. And not only are we going to show it and beat these guys at their house, we're going to completely stomp them out in their house. And that's the stuff that I see from Ferguson with the shoulder shrug, with Dak getting up. You see that with CeeDee Lamb. He's talking trash. Brandon Cooks, I don't ever remember him being a trash talker, but he seemed like he was kind of jawing a little bit. So um, it's just fun to see, man.
It makes it great, and that's the thing. Like you said, and not to jump on the Philly Niner game, but I think a lot's going to be shown this weekend, and you're going to learn a lot from Philly because we'll see. But I think they destroyed their will. I think. I mean, you had. I mean, hey, I don't. I'm not going to dog the guy's a young kid, bad game, whatever. But crying. I mean, you got players crying on the sidelines. I mean, they absolutely embarrassed him. Your point is they talked a lot of trash. They talked a lot of trash going into that game, and they had better have backed it up, because if
Hmm.
Philly would have won that, this whole landscape that we're talking about would be so different in the NFC. And it just kind of flipped everything over. And I don't know, Philly, it's going to be interesting to see how they recover moving forward. And we're going to get into that game later and talk about it. But that's what I want to see with Dallas, is that kind of swagger coming out and that consistency. Hey, if things aren't going right, we can go back and we're going to keep bringing it, because I think there's always something with the Cowboys that, always makes you nervous, is when they start off bad. Is it like, oh no, here we go. If they don't get going soon, they get kind of in that rut. And you saw it, you're seeing shades of them starting off not great, and then they kind of get going. So hopefully that's moved past them, and we won't see that anymore from Dallas either.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that Dallas in particular is kind of weird because you always talk about building your team to beat the division opponents and stuff like that. I think Dallas has always kind of had a little bit of a problem with those NFC West, I think it's West teams,
Yeah.
um, with the Niners, the Rams, not as of late, but they had our number for a little while there. The Cardinals, for whatever reason, they kind of always beat us. I
Always.
don't know why. Seahawks are a tough matchup, and we already know the Niners have had our number for 3 straight times now. So it might just be that division and how they play football. But just getting this win Thursday night against a tough defense. I mean, they were dogs on that defense, and I loved Witherspoon in the draft, and you kind of saw his intensity. Jamal Adams, obviously, he's not as good as he once was.
Boy,
Definitely
did we
not a
get lucky on that deal, didn't we?
yeah, yeah, for real. So, he talks, and there's a lot of dogs on that defense. So that was a really good showing for our offense going against that unit. Um, I will shout out some guys in chat. What up, AJ? Looking crazy says Dak has made me realize that he hasn't even peaked to his max potential yet. Love to be wrong about that. Not saying I don't ride for 4. I love 4. Um, then we got Mill Mills Lee Mills Forever 24. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. They ain't whipping shit Sunday night. Okay, so it's an Eagles fan in here, I
Oh, an
guess.
Eagle fan. You're
Okay,
getting ready
okay,
to get your
okay.
ass whooped. You guys still licking your wounds. You come in this chat. We love it. We love it. Come bring it because
Oh
you
yeah.
guys know the ass whooping's coming. You can talk yourself into it all you want, but I mean, we saw what you guys put out there. If you think that defense is going to do anything, my friend, it's been that way all year. I heard them talking to NFL Network, or maybe it's time to sit Jalen Hurts down a little bit
I
because he
saw
ain't
that.
right either. So
Yeah, I think who was that? David Carr or somebody said
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
that's I don't know if I
I'm
ride
not.
with that one, but it's
Hey, let them
interesting.
get some heat now from the media.
Got to
Right?
shout out my guy Barry Grant Jr. of All Even Podcast as well, part of the Grid Network. So shout out to chat. Another thing that I just wanted to talk about though, um, was the Shaq Leonard, Darius Shaq Leonard kind of stuff, and him signing to the Eagles instead. Um, where were you on that? And did you really care? I mean, I thought that he could help us in the run department, but as far as coverage, just with what the injury stuff was, I didn't think that he was um, going to help us in that department at all. And truthfully, I really do like what Marquise Bell has done.
Yeah.
I just think that Leonard could have brought some more physicality to our linebacker unit, and that's one thing that I was kind of hoping that we could get from him, but I don't know that he really tips the needle for either team. So
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. It was if it happens, great. If not, I didn't think he'd be a big impact for us. The only thing I'll say is, and I'm just, I'm always upfront about it. I don't study film, and I'm not looking in. So, if you've
mhm.
seen anything, if you watched anything on him this year, correct me if I'm wrong. But a buddy of mine, he played football at a college level, and he's a big Colts fan. And I could show the text. He texted me as soon as he signed with Philly. He said, "You thank God he didn't sign with your team." He said that he just has not looked good. He said, "Go back and watch the Patriots game." He said Zeke made him look ridiculous. He had back surgery. Now he was an All-Pro. I mean, he
Yeah,
was. I mean, look at those years. I mean, he was one of the best linebackers in football. So make no mistake about it. But he said he wasn't the same after his back surgery, and the side to side speed, the coverage, he got juked very easily, and just all I'll say is you look at the Colts. The Colts are in a playoff. I mean, right now they're in the playoffs. I think they're like
yeah.
the seventh
No, they
seed.
are.
Why would you get rid of a guy if he had something to bring to the table? If that's my only thing. So I didn't watch film on him. I could be dead
I think it
wrong.
was
Maybe
the money.
but it's you could cut him at the end of the year. What are you gaining? There's only 5 or 6 games left. What are you paying him? You're not
Yeah,
really paying him anything.
I haven't looked into his contract with the Colts
Yeah,
and stuff like that,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be heartbroken over it. I think that he can help each team, or could have helped each team, um, but it's not one of those needle mover
yeah,
type moves for me.
yeah. Well,
Um,
Philly was doing the celebration dance when they got Julio Jones, and how's that working out? What's he got? 5 catches this year? You know
all
what
of
I
them
mean?
screens apparently, because that's the
What?
only time I've ever seen him catch a ball for them was when it was a screen.
I
So,
know.
and I don't understand that Julio Jones on the screen. But anyways,
No, I just say sometimes people get caught up in names, and the thing I
yeah,
always say with Cowboys is every time someone gets cut, he's got to go to the Cowboys, right? Got to be a Cowboys, and Cowboys Nation gets all flipped out if they don't sign or something. But to your point, are you putting him ahead of Bell? Are you putting him ahead of Clark? I mean, look
no,
at the kind of scheme and the way that Quinn runs his defense. I mean, I think he went to Philly because he has an opportunity to play more, and that's fine. And I think he's got an opportunity to play more in Philly because their linebackers are garbage. I mean, he can't hurt them. I mean, he can't hurt him.
Yeah. No,
So
that's I think that's completely fair what you're saying. I think that they had a way bigger hole at linebacker,
yeah.
especially with their injuries and stuff like that.
Mhm.
My guy Bot G Eric does bring up a really good point about that Seahawks game. Pete Carroll worked with Dan Quinn at the Seahawks, so he knows that defense, knows how to attack it, which was something I obviously knew, but I wasn't even thinking about that. So that's a good call there from him. Now that I got some people in chat, I do want to mention I'm running a giveaway on my channel, and so all you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel. You might have a chance to win some of these hats right here if I can get past the hats.
Hey,
Brand new. Boom. This one has some paisley or whatever you call that bandana look on the side. But all you have to do is subscribe to my channel, follow my Twitter, and that's popping up on your screen right now. And then I think just retweet my pinned tweet, and that's as simple as that. So really cool giveaway, and those are True Brand hats. If you follow really any Cowboys player and stuff like that, you see them rocking these hats all the time, and I think they're a really nice fit, and they look kind of cool too. So why not?
no, I
Why
gotta
not
win
get
one
one?
of them. And like they need to subscribe. You guys subscribe, hit the like button. It doesn't cost you anything to do any of that stuff, and you get guys like EJ bringing great content that helps them. It doesn't cost you nothing. So you guys hit that subscribe, hit the like, do all that retweet, do all that stuff. Follow him on Twitter. He always brings great content. So definitely, that's cool of you to do that as well. So
Exactly. So let's just jump it straight into that Eagles game, man. What is the biggest matchup nightmare? Do you think? Kind of like, is it still that AJ Brown on the outside? Do you kind of feel, especially coming off of a not so good game for Bland? I mean, I think that would be mine, but I'd like to hear from you since you're the guest.
yeah. No, I mean AJ Brown. I mean, hey, you can't hate on him. The guy's a beast, and he's good. I mean, DK Metcalf. I said he was going to be. That was the one concern I have, and now you got AJ Brown coming in, and the secondary is going to have their hands full with him. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
you can't sleep on Smith either. So that's the part of the game where that would concern me. I think our front seven, I don't think they're going to run the ball well against us. Hurts, I don't know. Hurts just doesn't seem to be the Hurts that we saw last
Cool.
year run
Yeah.
the ball. I don't know if he's being more hesitant, being more cautious, but Brown is going to be a problem. They've got to make sure, and they, it seems like we like doing a lot of man coverage, and I just I don't know if I'd be doing that all day against Brown. So
We handled Brown pretty well in the first matchup. I will
yeah.
say that. Um, do they have they? I think Goddard played last week, right?
Well, when
The
last time he
Niners.
played?
No,
No,
he didn't play against the Niners.
I thought he's still out. Someone help us in the
Yeah,
chat.
chat. Go ahead and help us out with that. I think he was for sure possible
Oh,
to
really?
play
I
that
thought he
game.
man,
So
I
I
hope
don't
he's
know.
out. I thought he was still good.
Um, and chat, excuse me for my voice. I'm already losing it. I've been sick like the past week. Um, so Mike's gonna have to carry me a little bit here with the talking. Um, but yeah, I think that AJ Brown just on the outside, just what he can do from a physical standpoint, and especially I think he's so good over the top. Excuse me. Not showing his hands too soon, so the DB can get a tip on balls. So yeah, I think that AJ Brown is the big matchup, and I think you're right about
Just
Hurts.
to cut you off, but Goddard said I just looked it up. He said he plans to play this week, so
Okay,
they get
so
it. That's going to be good. I
yeah,
mean that.
Goddard will be back.
Yeah,
But I think yeah, like what you were saying with Hurts, I don't think that they're going to run him as much, especially coming off of that the big hit where he went into concussion protocol. Um, Seems like he did get cleared though, so that's good.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, man, their defense, that front four is really good. I think that their secondary, you've already seen Dak. Dak had his way with them, and especially if you can get whoever's going up against Eli Ricks is the
yeah,
matchup you want to go against.
Yeah, most of their guys, I mean, most teams that have played against them, and didn't Sam Howell light them up, Dax lit them up,
Yeah.
Allen. I mean, that's been the biggest problem with obviously Philly's been their secondary. Their front, I mean, their defensive line is about as good as you're going to get. So Dallas will definitely have their hands full, with their pass rush. But if he gets some time and he gets enough time, I mean, they'll absolutely torch their secondary. So it's gonna be. I think you're gonna see a lot of what you saw last time we played, but I just think we've got too much firepower for their defense, and I just don't know if their offense is going to be able to go toe to toe with Dallas. So, the thing concerning, if I was going to say on Dallas's side, to be fair, is our run game. I just, I just. I want to feel comfortable knowing if we're up 4 with 5 minutes to go, we can drive that ball and end the game. Now I've seen Philly do it, so I got to give them props for that. They've done it. I want to see our running backs and our running game do it, and I just don't know if our running game's been consistent. That's where I'll need you to EJ tell me if I'm crazy or not, because I get in debates with people all the time and like, well, Pollard's averaging over 4 yards a carry. This is over 4 yards, and I just don't see it. I'm still concerned with the run game.
Yeah, I think that up the middle, it's still a problem. I think that really, truthfully, I think it starts with Biotish. I don't think that he's completely healthy,
Mhm.
but he really just doesn't get very much push, and his reaching and his second level blocking is just not there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big problem. I think the outside runs are starting to get a lot better. The holes there are getting a lot better. And I think that really starts with Sean McKeon and Luke Schoonmaker and Jake Ferguson. Our tight ends have gotten progressively better with the blocking throughout the season. So I definitely like what I'm seeing from those guys. I think Tyler Smith is very, very good as a run blocker. Tyron Smith has been pretty good. Um, Zach Martin's taken a little bit of a step back in pass pro and run blocking a little bit this year. But really, I think it's Tyler Biotish in the run department is the big issue, and then Terrence Steele in the pass department is the big issue. So,
Well, do
um,
you think on the running, just not to jump in with you, but I just said your opinion. Like I see Rico, and I'm like, he should be the banger. And then sometimes they'll put him outside. I'm like Pollard. I like Pollard what he was. They always had him on the outside. They got him going, and it seems like they're throwing Pollard up the middle. And I almost think it needs to be reversed. I mean, do you see that as well, or am I reading too much into it?
I think I don't know if they really run. I mean, last game for sure. I think that they ran Pollard. I want to say like 17 times,
Yeah.
and Rico didn't really get that many runs last week, which was surprising. Um, but I think the biggest thing is with running it outside is those runs don't work unless you are hammering the middle and
Yeah.
keeping those linebackers honest up in the middle. Um, because when they know what's coming, they don't ever have to press the middle if you're never going to run up there. So they can automatically see, oh, the line's shifting this way, the run's probably going this way, and they'll just flood that way.
Yeah.
Um, so you have to stay honest and try to run up the middle. Um, I just would like to see a little bit more like crack tosses and stuff like that. I mean, you saw it on the touchdown play that TP had. It was a
Yeah.
toss, straight from the pistol formation. So those are the runs that I want to see more of, but you do have to stay honest and run up the middle. And I don't know if it's that they don't. Well, I think it's actually a little bit of both. Maybe they don't trust Rico as much as Tony Pollard going up the middle, up the gut, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I also think that it's like Tony Pollard, you are our guy, so we want to see what you got in case we do want to re-sign you. So it's one of those things, you know, only the people in the building really know. But as far as what I'm looking at, I think it's kind of how I just laid it out. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I had a place I was gonna go here, but you threw me a loop.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry.
no, you're
You can go
good.
wherever.
um, man, what was I gonna talk about? Um, I think that. Go ahead if you got a
I was
point.
just gonna say anything on you're looking at Philly. you're looking at their offense. I mean, obviously they were bad last year. I mean, what are you seeing from this offense as far as can they what could they hurt Dallas with? We talked about AJ Brown. I mean, you got Goddard. I mean, what's their path? If you're going to look at the enemy line,
Mhm.
because I always like look at the enemy line. What's their path to victory on offense and defense for us? You know what I mean? For them,
For them,
what are
I
they
think
going
that
to attack?
this is for me. I think that they have to get back to the read options and not being afraid to run Jalen Hurts,
Yeah,
because when you do that, you automatically sync up your second line, your linebackers, and that creates the throwing lanes behind them, which Jalen Hurts has been really good at exploiting, and those deep shots. Because if you're playing to cover one or man to man across the board, you can sync up your linebacker, and that's one thing that helps against the run the running game is having a linebacker there in the box, but it also allows you to be exploited in the seams or deep along the sidelines and stuff like that. So, when you're trying to stop the run as a defense, and that's primarily what defenses did last year, they tried to stop the run against the Eagles. Then those big shots come downfield in the middle of the field stuff, and when you have a player like an AJ Brown that can get yards after the catch, that's advantageous for you to do. Be a really good running team. This year, I don't know that they're a really good running team. You know what I mean? And that's weird to say because people think of Philly, oh, they're a good running team because they have Jalen Hurts, they have DeAndre Swift and stuff like that, but they don't run it nearly as much as you'd think on first down. They actually pass a lot more on first down than you would expect. Um,
yeah,
so
I was surprised. Like they're running because I thought they were going to be much higher, and they're only their yards per carries right about the same as what Dallas is. I think it's for like 4.1
yeah,
is what I saw before we jumped on, which surprised me because I was expecting to see a lot higher. And it looks like Miles Sanders has his yards per carry is pretty good, but they've got a big drop off. And like I said, we talked about Jalen Hurts just doesn't seem to be running the ball, whether it's designed that way or he's got his money and he wants to protect himself or I just think he's not as healthy. I think he's a little more banged up than what they're leading on.
yeah, I'm gonna jump in here into chat and read off some of their comments real quick. So, looking crazy, he says, for me, I've been saying it. Pollard has finally gotten over the mental part of the injury. He's been running hard lately. Ultra says Cowboys are the best offense in the NFL. Eagles need to pray that Dak has an off day. Kai 101 says our path of defeat is, excuse me, is if they can get into a lot of third and fourth downs with 3 or less to go. Tush push is automatic, and they aren't scared to run it back to back to back to get 3 yards. And yeah, I completely agree. I think that they have that mindset that it's only first and 8,
Yeah.
each time they get it. And, you can think whatever you want about the tush push play, but it is almost automatic for that team. And I don't even
Yeah.
think it's,
The
I
thing
really don't think it has anything to do with Jalen Hurts. It's their line.
No, it's the design, it's their line, give him credit. Hurt. The only thing I'd say, and I said this on a show, and I never want to see anyone get hurt. Don't attack me too bad. But if they're gonna if they're gonna run it, you gotta. I mean, someone's got to hit that quarterback and hit him hard. You got to make him not want to run it no more
Mhm.
because you're not gonna stop it. So you might as well make him pay the price. All right, we're gonna give you the yard, but you're gonna get a hit. You saw what happened to Brock Purdy. He tried to do it, and he was out. He was sitting on the sidelines a minute later. That's the mentality that the Cowboys got to have is they got to make them not want to run it because it is a huge advantage. Great design, the whole thing. Other teams have tried it; they haven't been able to duplicate it, so you give them credit for that. But it's to Ultra's point too is that was my path. The only way the Dallas Cowboys lose this game is they've got to play one of the worst offensive games. Because I just
Yeah.
think if they play their offense, I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, and we'll get into score predictions
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
later, but I did want to bring this up is that on the quarterback sneak, I don't know who it was on the 49ers, but somebody came up behind Jalen Hurts and actually horse collar pulled
Horse
him down,
collar him, I saw it.
which is
Yeah.
legal inside of the pocket if you do that to a quarterback. So, interesting to see like if you can get somebody back there quick enough where they, or even if it's not quick enough and they pick up the fourth down, and he just pulls him and yanks him down. Like, does that make you kind of quit thinking like, oh, maybe we can do this, or dang, our quarterback could seriously get hurt if we continue to do this? You know what I mean? You got to
Yeah.
outweigh, the cons from the pros. So,
Mhm.
um, interesting kind of strategy there. Ultra's just saying, yeah, Cowboys score 40 at home. That's what Dak does. And if the Eagles aren't scoring 40, it's going to be hard to beat them, basically. Um, Falcon says, I can see the NFL banning advancing a player currently engaged with another player. It doesn't target the Eagles specifically, but it does ban the tush push. Um, which I don't know, man. That's so hard because there's like, those are like the type of runs, from your ball carrier, and the offensive line comes and helps and pushes them for another, like, those are
Mhm.
the
They put
times that's
yeah.
really the highlight of some people's fandom of offensive linemen. Like, that's what gets them hyped. Like, yes, man, our offensive line is freaking going to bat for this running back and stuff. And so you take that play out, and it's like the offensive line. If you really don't know what you're looking at, it's kind of like one of those boring positions, or and
These refs have enough problems. I mean, they're having trouble calling penalties the right way now. I wouldn't be adding any more interpretation to their list because they
yeah,
need to figure
yeah.
out their yeah. Let's get this other stuff right before we go complicating things anymore for them.
Ultra saying, man, when I call a player booty, they start developing into something. Booty like Luke and Mozzie. Hey, yeah, start developing.
He does.
Um,
The thing I'll give Ultra is, he's on your show a ton, and he's been on my channel, and I love the guy, and he's tough love. I always say he's tough love, and boy, there's times where he was giving it to Dak, and he was just very very tough on him, tough
yeah,
love. But he was the first one to say that, hey man, I was wrong. I mean, Dak's playing well, and this and that. He'll give credit where credit's due. So you always got to respect that from Ultra.
yeah, man. I do respect Ultra, and he's one of those guys that he doesn't dispute nonsense. At least he listens to people of knowledge and
Yeah.
does his own reading and comments. So I respect Ultra. Obviously, we're not always gonna agree
You don't want
100% of the
yeah.
time, but that's what makes this game fun, and just talking about it in general, anyways. So, um, yeah, I think I got whatever was up with my throat figured out. It's a little bit still there, but at least I'm not dying every 2 seconds I say something. Um, anyways, I did want to bring up this little thing about the sounds of the sideline. I don't know if you watched the latest one. Did you, Mike?
I did. I don't have it memorized, but I did watch it once through.
Well, I think you'll remember this part, I believe. So, on that first touchdown pass by Dak Prescott, it was to CeeDee Lamb back in the end zone, and they all came to the sideline, and they were all talking to Michael Gallup, and Brian Schottenheimer was there, and they're like, "That was on you. That was you. You sucked them all in." And so, um, and MG was just completely humble and was like, "Man, you keep on doing what you're doing, blah 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 blah." And it just spoke to me about what it means to be a team player, because
Mm.
he has really, like, he had one target last game. His
Yeah. He did
snaps
play
have
much.
continued to go down and down and down, and yet he's still there riding for his boys, understanding, like, listen, if my number gets called, I'm going to be there. But if my greatest call to victory is being a decoy for somebody else in the play, I'm going to do that. And
Yeah.
that just speaks volumes to me as a competitor and somebody that was always a leader on my team. And that doesn't mean always getting the points and getting the fancy stats. Sometimes you have to be that player that gets the hustle stats, or gets the
Mhm.
stats that don't even show up on the sheet. You know what I mean? And that guy's hustling, man. You talk about like a Jonathan Hankins, somebody that doesn't hardly ever get sacks, minus that one game where he did happen to get 2 sacks,
Yeah.
and he's over there on the sidelines getting happy. And Neville Gallimore, how many times have we really even seen Neville Gallimore on the field? And he's over
Yeah.
there talking, and I think that everybody understands how good Dak Prescott is right now. Like, they know, like, man, we got four. Four's
Yeah.
gonna like four's gonna bring us to victory. Like, that just knowing that not everything's on your back when you go back out there as a defense, and understanding, like, hey, we're going to do our best and we're going to try to stop this team, but we haven't all night. But if we don't, we got this guy back here who's on one right now, on
Yeah.
number 4. Like, speak to what that does as a player or a coach or anybody that's involved with that, man.
Well, and I think the leadership of Dak has always been, underrated, and he hasn't given a lot enough credit to his leadership. But I tell you, I'm just going to take it even a step further. To me, it starts at the top. And you're talking about Mike McCarthy. And I
Mm,
said it when they hired Mike McCarthy. I got a lot of crap for it because I like this hire. I talked to Packer fans who are friends of mine, and they said you're going to love Mike McCarthy. And the thing I give Mike McCarthy is he changed the culture of this team. And you're seeing it. Everything you talked about, that mentality and the closeness and everything that these guys got, it starts with your coach, and he's created that brotherly love. I hate to say that we were playing Philly, but he created that bond with these guys, and you see it on the sidelines when you saw the little video clip that they do, and if you watch him when they're doing his press conference, he doesn't get baited into crap. He lets Jerry be Jerry and do whatever the hell you want. He's focused on football and he's focused on this team. And you're talking about you're going to have 3 years in a row. I mean, you're talking 12 plus wins 3 years in a row. They hadn't
yeah.
done that for a hell of a long time. And he's got to get the credit that he deserves. Now we got to get in the playoffs. It's got to translate. We can't have Marty Schottenheimer here. We gotta get it in the playoffs. But I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves as the head coach. He's always been the whipping boy. He's always been the one that the media knocks. It's been him and Dak side by side that they like to beat up on. But I think McCarthy, just as much as Dak deserves a lot of credit for the culture and for everything that he's created with this team.
Yeah. And I spoke to this last week, is just him having that self-awareness to make changes.
Yeah.
And not only make changes from his perspective, but being willing to take ideas and opinions from other people and culminate that into a big pot and create a new um, presentation. You know what I mean? So I think that he deserves a lot of credit as well. So that's good on your part for bringing that up.
Yeah, and,
Um,
and and really the belief in the team. I know to get long winded because I wanted to ask you because I didn't see it on TV. I was infuriated. I like the call on third down at the end. I like the call to throw it, not run it and drain the clock and
mhm.
and do whatever. But I think it spoke to the confidence he has in his team that he's going to call a pass. Now I wish they didn't throw the pass that they did. I wish it was more of a safe pass. But I think again it speaks to the confidence that he has on the team. And I know he got ripped a little bit for it, and it's like but he had faith in the defense that they were going to get it done. But I don't know your thoughts on that play. I was a little infuriated with the pass in the beginning, but maybe it speaks to the confidence and belief he has in these players like Dak and this defense as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't have a problem with the pass. I thought that, like, for me, I hate conservative coaching, anyways. I think
Yeah,
that if you're gonna win it, you got to just go win it. And my my biggest problem with it was really the play or when you took the shot for the pass. Like, if everybody else thought you were gonna go run on first down because that's what it tells you to in the coaching handbook, run
yeah,
on first down in this situation. If you took your pass play shot right there or a quick screen, or you went run, and then you told Dak, hey, I know you don't want to take a sack, but if the throw's not there,
take
take a sack because
that's what I
that's the
was
same
thinking. Is like
thing as a run. You know what I mean? It keeps the clock rolling.
yeah,
Um, so just situational awareness, and you have to communicate that with your quarterback, um, to be like, hey, listen, um, you know, if you got your shot, like if you got the kill shot, like take it. But CD didn't even win off that route at
yeah,
all throughout the entire. Like he got jammed up there, and he was trying to hand fighting, and Dak threw it up there, and it just kind of one of those passes. Like I don't really like it, especially in the situation. I like you said, different play call,
yeah,
or act like if you would have ran like a 13 personnel, which is, if for anybody that doesn't know what that means one running back, three tight ends on the field. Um, from 13 personnel, you ran some type of tight end boot out of the back or something like that and just threw it.
yeah.
You have the potential to pick up the first down, but it also keeps the clock rolling. Those are the type of pass plays that I would have implemented in that certain situation. So I didn't have a problem with it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. No, but I just it speaks to the confidence he has defense. Like I said, they got the ball back with a minute and like 45 seconds or something like that. So and the defense showed out. I mean, they showed out, so it was good.
Chats over here just Kai is saying that the choice throw wasn't bad, just the play. It was too low percentage. Um, Bot G Eric says I think Moore will be the interim head coach of the Chargers, which I think I talked about a little bit last week, so I won't get too into. Um, excuse me. Um,
Did they fire the coach yet, or
I don't know. I didn't hear anything. Then Kai is saying that he probably did tell Dak that he just thought that he had a shot. I don't know. I feel like if Dak honestly heard that in the like headset, like, hey, go down if you feel this or whatever, I think Dak would have just known, like, hey, that's not a high percentage throw.
yeah,
But it's beside the point. We still won.
still won? Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I'm at a loss of words for just how this season has gone. Like, there's been the complete downs where you felt like, golly, like, we're not good enough. With the 49ers game, we got completely blown out. One saving grace, though, is this isn't the same offense that we saw when we played the Niners. Like, this offense, this iteration of getting Brandon Cooks involved and getting Turpin more involved, and Jake Ferguson's a completely better tight end right now than he was during that game. And Dak, excuse me, Dak is so much better at just reading the defense. And I don't think that this team is the same as when we faced the Niners. And whenever I dropped my prediction last week and I said I think that the Niners are going to blow out the Eagles, my guest was like, "Man, you think so?" And I said, "Yes, I really do think so, because the Niners are that team that they have that mentality that if they want to bury you, they're going to bury you." Difference is that I think that the Cowboys are now getting to that mental headspace that, look, we can ride against anybody, we can beat anybody, we can play against anybody wherever, whatever field it is, and
yeah.
that's what I like to see.
Yeah. No, and I think 100%. I agree with you. The only thing I would say with the Niners is, and we'll worry about that. I mean, we don't have to worry about it until the playoffs. If we cross paths, as I'm sure we're going to
Mm-hmm.
cross paths at some point. Is, to me, it's all mental with them, man. I mean, you just watch it. It's like they're scared. It's like they're
Yeah.
intimidated. It's everything that goes with it, and that's the part that always that worries me if you're going up against the Niners for whatever reason. You saw it with. I mean, even with Philly, I mean, the Niners, if they get going, they can intimidate you. And you look at that Browns game, and the Browns flipped the script, and the Browns, they were the bullies, and sometimes when you got that bully, you got to punch him in the mouth. So I'm hopeful. I mean, I'd love to see well, I don't know if I'd love to see him, but if we see the Niners again,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't mind Detroit taking them out, and we take Philly out. Then I'm not gonna
Yeah.
complain. Philly didn't complain about their path, so I'm not gonna complain about it either. But that's gonna be the thorn on our side. I think styles make fights, and I just think that Philly is a good style for the Cowboys. I mean, you go back to that other game, and I mean, we had them dead to rights, but you got to give them their credit. They found a way to win for whatever, however any means necessary. You can say the mistakes, you can say this, but at the end of the day, they got the win, we got the loss. But I left that game feeling I got no worries. When we play them again, we're going to beat them, and I think we're going to beat them convincingly. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's just, in Detroit, we're going to play Detroit. So you look at the schedule. I mean, in the NFC, we're going to find out what Detroit's made of, but it's really, I mean, it's going to be San Francisco, Philly, and Dallas, and throw Detroit in there if you want. And that's what it's going to come down to. And it's been that way all year. It was talked about before this season. I hadn't been, everyone talked about maybe some surprise team. Maybe Chicago would come out of the, this or that, or Seattle, but it's it stayed consistent in the NFC that, I mean, it's
Yeah.
going to be a battle to the end.
Yeah, you and I were talking off the record before the show started that neither of us really think that the Cowboys can continue a win streak going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And right now we're riding on a 4-game win streak. If we won the last 5, that would be a 9-game win streak going into the playoffs. So I guess, like, how many do you see us possibly losing? And what would, like, Do you think that if we dropped one, like probably the division's out of hand? Do we kind of agree on that?
Yeah, I got it. We have to think about it. So if we think about it, I think the game, if we drop one, I think it's Miami. I think
Mm,
Miami on the road. My son's going to that game. I got to stay home, but he's representing. So hopefully he gets some tag luck in there. But so that would put Dallas at what? That would put us at 4 losses, right?
yeah, 4 losses. Yep.
So if Philly, we beat Philly, they're gonna have 3 losses. I think Philly loses to Seattle. That gives them 4 losses. We lost to Miami. They lost to the Jets. So wouldn't our conference losses be the same? I don't know how far down the tiebreaker you're gonna go, or am I wrong?
Um, it depends because if we look, I mean, let's say that we beat them this weekend, and then um they
Let's say they
lose.
drop
They
two. They're going to
lose.
drop two to Dallas and they're going to drop to Seattle. That
Okay,
gives them
there you
four
go.
losses. One of their losses being an AFC opponent. We lose to Miami. That
Uh
would
huh.
give us 4 losses. One of our losses an AFC opponent. So our division record's the same. Our conference record's the same. I don't know where the tiebreaker goes from there, I guess is what I'm saying.
Ooh,
So
yeah, I
I
don't
think
know
there's a
where.
shot. If I think there's still a shot to win the division, depending on who we lose. If we lost to an
Mm.
AFC. Okay, and help in the
Nope.
chat. You guys got Google, help us out, or tell me if I'm wrong. But I think the math is there to where if they drop to Seattle, we could lose one of those Miami. We can lose an AFC game. Can't lose an NFC game, but we
Mm-hmm.
could lose an AFC game.
I think that the sneaky team is the Bills
Yeah,
because you look at the Bills next week. Who do they play? The
I
Chiefs.
think play the Chiefs.
The
Yeah,
Chiefs are coming off of what is that? 2 losses in a row,
yeah,
and the Chiefs. I think that's at home for the Chiefs.
I think it is.
So I don't think the Chiefs are going to lose that game. And then the Cowboys have to play the Bills next after probably a tough fight against the Eagles. And they're playing them at their house, which they're actually pretty good at home. I think they're undefeated at home right now.
Yeah, we'll have to look that. Someone look it up. But the thing I would say about the Bills, because we talked about this last night, their defense is bad, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it
some of the
is.
problem secondary. So it's both teams haven't run the ball great. I mean, Dallas has run the ball good, but they haven't run it great. I don't know if Buffalo's run the ball good or great. And you don't know what the weather is going to be like in Buffalo. It could be 16-mile-an-hour winds. It could be snowstorm. It could be beautiful
If
day.
that's the case, though, we're screwed because we can't run the ball.
Well, they can't run it either. That's why our
They could
teams.
run it with Josh Allen at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's gonna. I don't think that'll be a problem because you're gonna see him
I
coming.
don't
But
know.
that game is interesting. It's interesting because I mean, when we did the schedule, I mean, you probably did it too. You kind of figured out what your record's gonna be. I had us 12-5. I had us losing to Buffalo and Miami
Mm,
before the season. Now I'm not so sure on Buffalo. I'm more confident in Buffalo. Miami is the one that that's good. That's a
yeah.
fast that's a fast team, and if they get hot, if they get rolling, but they've never beat a team with a winning record. No one talks about it. No one brings it up, but they haven't beat a team with a winning record yet. So
Miami's so strange because they have that really deep passing attack, but I'm far more scared of their running attack.
yeah.
Because you got guys like Raheem Mostert and Devin A. I always call him
I
A
always
Chain, but I
butcher his name.
guess
I'm not gonna do it.
he said it's a Chan. I guess that is what he said. I called him A Chain during the draft process, but um, either way, those guys, Speedy, obviously Mostert, not to the same extent as the latter, but those guys, and then just McDaniel's just running and how he sets that up. I don't know if you know this, but he was specifically in charge of that in San Francisco. Like that was his
Yeah,
entire thing.
yeah.
So he's really really good at figuring out pulling blockers and stuff like that, getting his guys to the second level and really making holes for running backs. And that's my biggest thing because I don't know that the Cowboys are really good in that area still, and that's been the Achilles heel of this team for I don't know how many seasons, but um, it's one of those things that kind of scares me more. And obviously Tyreek Hill is going to get his, Jalen Waddle as well, and you got Wilson there, and you got whoever else, and they have weapons. So
No, without a doubt.
yeah,
But their defense is a little shaky.
yeah, their defense
They
isn't.
got Ramsey, but I mean they haven't been as good. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a tough road. Let's just be honest. Dallas, it's going to be tough, but they win Sunday night. The pressure is going to be on Philly, and I'm telling you, and I could be dead wrong. And I mean, they'd have to lose 3 in a row, which would be surprising. But going to Seattle, going to Seattle is not an easy place to play.
That's
And
another team with that's kind of where my thought process is with the cow or with the Bills is they're
yeah,
going to be fighting for their season.
oh no,
It's
yeah,
another back up against the wall kind of a
yeah,
game like you were playing with Seattle,
mm-hmm,
um, and it's at their house.
mm-hmm,
So that's where I'm kind of like my thought process because if you get good Josh Allen, he can beat anybody. I really don't care what anybody says. I mean, you saw how good he was in that Philly game. He's
yeah.
very very good when he's on. Now it's when you get the turnovers and stuff like that, and when he's trying to do too much is where he kind of gets shaky.
Yeah, something's
So
going on with them though, right? With Diggs, and it's just that whole
yeah,
something there. I mean, I don't know if the team is kind of splitting or this is a bad year for them. I don't know, but they're desperate and they're good. So I don't want to beat a dead horse but I mean, I think those are the two games. And it's funny we hadn't said Detroit, but those are the kind of
yeah.
the two games that if I was that would be the two that I would be concerned.
Detroit is strange because they have a really good line, so they can maybe negate some of our pass rush.
Yeah,
Um, and they have good weapons on the outside. Not great by any means, but Sam Laporta is pretty good. You got
yeah,
Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's really come on as a solid option at the wide receiver one position. He works inside out, which is funny. Nobody ever clowns him for being
no, I
playing in the slot and stuff. But regardless of the point, um, and then they got Williams, who's kind of come back and from his suspension and stuff like that, who's a deep threat. Reynolds. So some really nice little weapons there. But my thing with Detroit is they just don't have a good defense. They have
yeah.
playmakers on defense. Like Brian Branch was a guy I really liked out of Alabama during the draft process. And God, what's that linebacker's name? Out of Iowa that I really liked as well out of the draft process. They got him too. Um, and then they got Aiden Hutchinson as well.
Yeah,
They've got
Hutchins,
Asim Richards, or not Asim Richards. What am I talking about? Aleem
our guy.
McNeil,
Yeah,
Aleem McNeil inside. So they've
but
got some
there ain't no
pieces, but their
way,
their defense isn't good.
and there's no way we're losing with Jimmy Johnson going in the Ring of Honor. They ain't losing that game.
Yeah,
Ain't
that's true. That's true. We got a guy. We've got some
it
reason
better
to
not.
play a little bit more during that game. So,
Yeah, it
um,
better not.
and
But
that's
it's
a,
gonna
that's a
be.
home
There's gonna
game
be.
too, right?
Yeah, it's home. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
gonna be a
So,
13. There's gonna more than likely there's gonna be a 13 win team in the NFC that's gonna be the fifth seed.
oh yeah.
And it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often, but and they're going to be traveling to Atlanta or traveling in New Orleans, and it'd be like last year. And
Really,
it's going to
it
come out of the East. It's going to be us or Philly, fifth seed. You know,
and I really don't have a problem with that. Not because, um, I'm okay with being, not coming in first in the division, but you talk about the fifth seed, like they probably have the easiest first round matchup,
they
anyways.
do.
You know what I mean?
They
And um, whether it's the Saints, the Bucks, the Falcons, none of those teams scare you offensively or defensively. So I think that you can really go in there and just, get like a feel good game in your
yeah.
system and really use that to kind of propel you to where you want to go. And somebody helped me out there in chat and said Jack Campbell was the linebacker I was thinking about out of Iowa. So I appreciate that, Kai. Um, but yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing, honestly, from me
No, I mean, you'd
if
love
the
to have the
fifth
home
seed.
game. You love to have the home games. I mean, we're undefeated. I mean, we've been playing well at home, so
Yeah.
obviously, you love the one seed. And I still believe the East is going to get the one seed. It's going to be us or Philly. I think San Francisco's got to play at Baltimore. I think it's at Baltimore. Hopefully, it
Ooh.
is. I think
Baltimore's a sneaky tough team.
no, I
Um,
mean, they could be
Odell
one.
Beckham's he's slowly been coming on. Zay Flowers really nice out of the slot.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, they lost their tight end for the season. Um, but Lamar, he was kind of early on in the season. He's like almost the reverse Dak. Like at the beginning of the season, he was doing really really good. Now he's
yeah,
kind of tapered off. So if he can kind of recapture what he was doing early on in the season, and then with how their defense is playing, I mean, their defense is really, really good.
yeah,
So yeah, hopefully they can steal a win from the Niners as well and make it really interesting.
yeah.
Um, but man, that's really all I had, set aside to talk about. I didn't want to go super super long because I knew my throat was probably going to act up because I've been like not talking for like 4 days straight, except for with my wife really and my boss. Um, but now that I'm kind of talking a little bit, it's gotten a little bit better. But guys, if you have not already, please do sign up for the giveaway and stuff like that because I want to give this stuff away. I mean, they're cool hats, but I specifically bought them to give them away. So retweet that post and stuff like that. I want to get it because I'm gonna do the actual giveaway, the Eagles game day, probably a couple hours before the game starts. So in case the night doesn't happen how we want it to, at least some three lucky individuals can have a good night at least.
Oh, no jinxes.
Yeah, no, don't
Right home.
don't jinx
We'll
that. No.
slide home, man.
Um, but yeah, I do want to just get it out to as many people as possible to hopefully win these and help me grow my channel because I like doing this stuff and I appreciate getting on guests that are knowledgeable like Mike and just chatting it up with people in the chat and reading your guys' stuff and just talking ball, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. You do a great job, man. Always love being on the show and always love you having it. And I'll just say with the Eagles, so my one of my best friends from high school, childhood friends, is an Eagles fan. And we have this thing. We've been to one Eagle game. We went to Texas Stadium. Dallas won, of course. I told you guys I've never seen Dallas lose
To
to
the
the Eagles.
Eagles, yeah.
And he's coming up next weekend. So he's coming up. We're gonna hang out at old school, watch some football. And I'm like, man, we have got to win. But it's funny when we don't talk to each other during this week. Like we don't text, and even if one wins and the other, we never. Oh, we'll get like one little thing that says "good game." We don't really trash
Yeah.
talk each other too much, but it's funny. But Eagles it's a fun rivalry. We kid a lot with them, and all this, but I've had a great time with the Eagle fans at AT&T. We always mix it up, and it's a fun time. And Sunday night at AT&T, it doesn't get much better, man. It's gonna be rocking.
I need to go to a Sunday nighter gamer. I've only ever been to like noon and 325 games, so I need to go to
Yeah,
a Sunday night, man. It'll be
yeah.
fun.
Well, we're gonna figure out a Cowboys Cave tailgate party, so we'll let you know. We'll try and make it for maybe we'll make it for a Sunday night.
Yeah, let me know, man. Chat, if you guys were in here the whole time and kicking it with us, thank you so much. If you're going to catch this on the replay, thank you so much. Leave a like, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not. I know a lot of the people in the chat probably are already familiar with Mike and what he does over there at the Cowboys Cave. Next week, we're supposed to have on Kelly. Mike, if you want to join, you can come ahead and join on with us too as well.
Hey, a hot
Um,
date. I had something going
yeah,
on.
he had the Adam Sandler, which I
Adam
mean,
Sandler.
Adam Sandler,
Yeah,
he's a legend. You got to go to that,
yeah.
man. Come on.
No, no.
The funny thing is, I texted him. I was like, man, I was gonna go to that too, but I checked the date and it was the same day as the Eagles Cowboys game. So I was like, nah, I can't go to that. So for whenever
Well,
he
it's
came to
funny.
my town,
This whole week was crazy because we did a show Monday. We're doing one Wednesday. We got some Eagle content creators. We invited them. We kind of put a tweet out, hey, someone come in the cave and let's mix it up. So we got that tomorrow. And then I'd reached out to George Teague and I was trying to get him on a night. Then he's like, I tried to do Thursday, and then and I go, well, how about? And I told Kelly, well, maybe we'll try Tuesday. And Kelly goes, hey man, he goes, well, yeah, we're going on EJ show Tuesday. So, oh, shit, that's right, we got it. So I canceled. So I said, I'm not going to send it to Teague. And so I said, well, I could pre-record it with you, or we could do Monday. So Monday we're gonna have George Teague in the house.
there you go.
Hopefully, victory Monday, and it'll make for a lot of fun.
That'll be
But yeah,
fun, man.
this is a good week, man. It's a good week because you get to we
Have
could
you ever
talk.
had Teague on your show yet?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, we go back, so it's funny. We kind of create a little bit of friendship through Twitter, and I'm a
Yeah.
Miami guy. He's a Bama guy, so obviously, if you remember '92, I don't know if you were born yet, but if you remember
Yeah.
'92, if you watch the replay, Teague stripped Lamar Thomas when our fastest guy, one of the fastest guys in college. I don't know how he caught him to this day, but he stripped it, took it right out of his hand while he was running, and then ran it back a ways. So George Teague had a huge,
Hey.
and he reminds me of it every time we talk. And when I had him on the show, we kid a lot about it. So he's just a great guy, and definitely obviously knowledgeable. He has a podcast as well. If anyone see Teague's Takes, and he does a great job. He's a big Alabama guy, so it's tough for
Yeah.
Miami. I still love him.
Well,
So.
Falcons in here. He says, "Nah, I can't follow this Mike guy. He's a bully about FSU." Which Falcon's a little bit biased here because I'll let you
Well,
in on a secret. He's a Michigan fan, so of course he wanted FSU
oh,
right
he
there.
doesn't. Yeah, he wanted the easy path. Now I see what's going on. But I mean, we don't want to talk all night. I love college football too, but you cannot. I mean, we all can't look in the mirror and say that Florida State is a top 4 team right now, and it sucks, man. And believe me, I'm a Miami guy. I'd love to pounce on them and do all that, but I feel for the fans. It's tough. I feel for them like they should have felt for me in 2000 when we were number 2
Yeah.
ranked and we beat Florida State. We beat Boston College 52-7 in the last game of the season, and somehow the BCS jumped Florida State over us. Maybe to try and get Bobby Bowden, an
Oh,
opportunity national champion.
I can't even tell you about that. I was like 5 years old, but
I know, but I got these Florida State guys that are calling me this and that, and I'm like, and they're all mad. I'm just like, did you speak out on our behalf when you guys screwed us over? Because we would have killed Oklahoma and we would have got a national championship out of it. So anyway, I
yeah.
always have.
My little argument about it is like, are you talking most deserving? Because if you're talking most deserving, FSU is in. Are you talking best? If you're talking
Yeah.
best, I think Georgia should have been in. So it was like, where do you
Georgia
go?
over who?
I would have put Georgia over Alabama, which is crazy.
Alabama just beat them.
I know, that's what I'm saying. How
But
there's
who
no
did
right
Georgia beat?
answer
Who did
because
Georgia beat
Texas
though?
beat the only thing you could have done possibly is leave Michigan out because they had the worst strength of schedule. The only team
See, I
they
said
really
that.
beat.
Someone yelled at me saying Michigan
But you
played all
can't
the
leave
time.
Michigan out. They're just the same as Alabama. They're
No,
a blue blood.
I think you got to have. I think that this was an odd year because you had 5 conference champions that are all deserving,
Hmm.
and you only had 4 spots. And Florida State had an opportunity to vote to have the expansion this year. They voted against it.
Mm.
So, but
My whole
someone
thing
was
with
going to be let out. So if you put Florida State in, you got to take someone out. If you put Georgia in,
I would have
you
put this is me. I
yeah.
would have put Florida State in and I would have left Alabama out. And that pisses people off, but Alabama was one Hail Mary away from losing to Auburn and they already lost to Texas.
But Florida State, Louisville won 3 games, or they lost to a 3-win team. One of their losses was a 3-win team. Their other loss was to a bad Kentucky team. Alabama played 5, and I hate Alabama. You're making me defend them. I can't believe I'm doing it. Alabama played 5 top 25 teams. Florida State played 2. They played Louisville, which was way overrated. They were underdogs playing Miami, and Miami was a 5-loss team. And their other loss was to the bad team. So you had that.
Yes,
Florida
but
State's other win was who was their other? Oh, LSU, and
they
they
beat
beat
LSU and they beat Florida too.
Alabama destroyed LSU, destroyed them, absolutely destroyed them.
My thing was Florida State. They built their schedule and they didn't know LSU was not going to be very good. They didn't know Florida wasn't going to be very good.
LSU was ranked. The problem that killed Florida State was ACC sucked. But at the end of the day, what killed them, and it's in the criteria, whether we like it or not, major injury or major coaching, which causes your team, that needs to be considered. They looked terrible against a backup quarterback at Florida. They threw for 50 yards. If they were lining up against Alabama, Michigan, Texas, Washington, they'd be 21-point underdogs in every single one of those games.
I don't know. I feel bad for those kids. That's my whole thing.
I do. I feel bad.
And for Alabama to almost lose to Auburn, basically a Hail Mary.
They almost lost to Florida. Florida stinks.
I
They
know.
almost lost to Florida.
That's why I would have left
They
Alabama
almost
out.
lost to Miami. Miami's a 5-loss team. Florida State had so many close losses too.
Florida State. Here's my thing: is Florida State was gonna get their second quarterback back. They were
And
playing
he
with their
was
third
young
guy. Nah, I mean, come on now. He's
against
better than the
Florida.
third
Oh my
stringer.
God.
He's better than the third stringer. Come
Yeah,
on
he
now.
is. He is. He is.
The third stringer barely had what, like 60 yards?
He had 50 yards.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I feel bad,
It
but that's off
sucks.
on a
It
tangent. My
sucks.
team blew it against Washington. I really thought we were gonna beat
Oh,
Washington.
Oregon?
Yeah, so
Oh, I
it is
tell
what
you,
it is.
Uncle Cheech had them as the best team in the country, and Ultra remind him. And Oregon play now. You look at Oregon. I mean, that's where you needed to have this 12 team. Oregon, right? Their only losses are to
Both
Washington,
Washington
and down to the wire,
on
could have
both of
went
them.
either
Yeah,
way. You know what I mean? And it's
yeah,
unfortunate for some of these teams. And like you said, Georgia. The thing that people say is, well, Georgia, they won. You know, they're defend. They got to be able to defend their time. Well, you can't. I mean, we can't look back. You can't look. You can't look back that they didn't. They didn't win their conference, so they get no argument. They have no argument. If they go in, they go in. But if you don't win your conference, you don't have an argument. If they put you in, fine, but you can't whine and complain because they had the opportunity and Alabama beat them, and Alabama beat them convincingly. Maybe the score didn't look like it,
yeah,
but Georgia
yeah.
was never in the game.
I don't know. I still think Georgia's one of the top four. I'm curious to hear what you think about how they stacked up 1, 2, 3, 4. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think that Texas and Washington played last year in a bowl, didn't they?
I think they
And
might have.
Washington's fairly the same team that they were last year. I mean, obviously some minor pieces and stuff like that. Um, so it's interesting that those two have to match up. I almost would have put it Michigan versus Texas and Alabama versus Washington.
Well, they
But
weren't because of Texas beat
yeah,
Alabama.
I know. But
But I
I
tell
don't
you
know.
what, I think it's going to be Alabama and Texas.
You think
I
so?
I think so. I
I
think
think
Texas
Washington's
beat
going to win
Washington.
it.
Washington, man, I don't know. The Pac-12 was not very good, and I don't know who they played outside of Oregon. I mean, Oregon's a good team.
Washington has some good pass rushers, and they've got some good offensive linemen to protect Penix, and they've got some of the best receivers, honestly. So uh, I think, and I'm kind of rooting for Texas a little bit because a lot of my friends that are Cowboys fans are Texas fans. And I
Yeah.
don't have a horse in the race, but I really just think that Washington's gonna prove a lot of people wrong. But
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and I thought maybe Michigan because all the crap that they've gone through, they get chip on the shoulder. They'll have something to prove. But I mean, Nick Saban, man, you just can't bet against that guy, man. I would have never thought. I
yeah,
thought Georgia was going to beat him. I thought Georgia would beat him, and
now
then if Georgia beat him, we wouldn't be having any of this conversation.
yeah, now watch FSU go and beat Georgia. No,
I
I'm just
know.
that'd be
No,
so.
well, and
Oh
and
my
it's
goodness.
and it's kind of sad because what kind of and I we can jump off. I apologize. I love college football too, but the thing that's killing college football is now the bowls don't matter. I mean,
Hmm.
Florida State, none of the guys that are gonna go in the draft are gonna play because
Hmm.
no one wants to get hurt. You can't blame them. Georgia is gonna be the same. So you don't know what you're gonna get out of
Mm.
either team because none of them care. So you can get a Florida State end up winning. I don't think it's going to happen
Well,
because they're quarterback. There's
what
just no
I
way.
kind of wonder though is if like Florida State's coach and everybody's like, listen, you guys, I know like Keon Coleman and they're I can't remember the pass rusher there that's really
Pass rush is
good.
really good. Yeah,
Um, but those guys like, hey, we understand if you have to, but if not, and you wanna make a statement telling this committee that you guys got it wrong, stick around for this bowl game. Let's study. Let's learn some stuff up, and go and lay it on Georgia. If they get their backup quarterback back, you know what I mean, and they do it, man, I would love to just
it
be
would
in
be
that
good,
locker
but
room.
it's all about the money. I can't blame them. I mean, God
Yeah,
forbid you saw Jalen Smith, in the bowl game get his leg taken out, and you've seen it happen in a few other guys. I mean, it costs you millions, and those guys they're not going to take a chance, and I don't blame them.
yeah.
I don't blame. But
All
anyway.
right, man.
All
Well,
right, man. Well, I love talking football. I love
yeah,
talking college. So and I come off like I'm a Bama fan. That's the part that's been pissing me off because I've been defending Bama and I can't stand Alabama.
nah. We all know you're a Miami fan, so it's all
So,
right. But hey, man, if you guys are not following Mike, go ahead and follow him. If you're not doing the giveaway, go ahead and follow that channel right there on your YouTube, and then go ahead and search up that Twitter or X, whatever they call it nowadays, account, and find my pinned tweet, retweet that, and you're entered automatically. And with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. And Mike, thank you for joining, man.
I appreciate